make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
They're not punishing him because he cheated, because, like, if that's the case, then Tristan Thompson would never play in the NBA again. Thanks for tuning back to the Whistle Throwers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Ian Tusinski,
Jack Slaymaker.
And we got a lot of topics today, but we're going to run through our fantasy lineups because we're all in the same league. Who wants to go first?
I can start. So my first overall pick was in the first round. I was number 2, I believe. I took Cooper Kupp. I think you were number 1, right, Jack? And you took Henry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I took Kupp number 2. I took Kupp. I said this in episodes before because I value receivers in fantasy more. I'm testing that strategy out a little bit, definitely this year. But I'm looking pretty good so far. Kupp, and I believe my second pick was Nick Chubb Kelsey in the second round. At tight end. And then I have Chubb as my running back 1 and Dameon Pierce from Houston as my running back 2. A lot of guys were high on him. He started off pretty slow, but I hope you can pick it up a little bit here. And then my second receiver is Mike Williams. And then in my flex, I have Hunter Renfrow for my receiver. And man, my key piece is my quarterback, man. Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. Wow, what a start for fantasy. He's been great in both games. I'm hoping he can keep that up because the rushing ability we all know is there. But wow, the passing, I mean, if he can really put that in, not only is he going to be good on the field for the Eagles, it's going to be great for fantasy owners of Jalen Hurts. So I'm really excited about that moving forward, especially with these first 2 games. And then just quickly, my defense is the Eagles defense. My kicker is Tucker for Baltimore, always just reliable.
And it's weird because I was looking at Jalen Hurts' stats today, and he only has like 1 passing touchdown so far. And it just did not feel like that at all because he's been playing amazing.
Yeah, right. And like the yardage has been pretty good. It's like not even great yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still putting up such great numbers in fantasy. So like
he's the perfect fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, he's primed for like a historic fantasy season.
Yeah.
He's just got to stay healthy, obviously, which is very questionable.
he could. What's the record for quarterbacks with rushing touchdowns? Because he's already got 3.
I'm not sure. It was Vic. I think had like 12.
Didn't he have 10 last year though? Like he's like right there.
So it's somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Hurts passed Vic for the Eagles record. I know that last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was 10 last year. That was 10.
And Aiden, I'm playing you this week. You're gonna get steamrolled.
I'm not feeling too good about my team. I have certain guys I'm hyped on, but overall, my team's just been really disappointing. So, my quarterback's Lamar. First of all, I lost last week with Lamar scoring 54 points. So, if you want to hear or feel how I felt, that's a pretty good summary. Biggest reason I lost were my running backs. I have 3 that I've used. Dalvin Cook, who was terrible last week.
Wow, yeah, terrible.
Did nothing against Eagles defense. Last week I saw Melvin Gordon over Travis Etienne. Both of them have not done anything. Denver's refusal to run the ball really hurt me.
Yeah, right.
My wide receivers are Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, and I used Robbie Anderson because Keenan was hurt. Hopefully with Allen coming back, my team will be a little bit better. Christian Kirk was probably the steal of the draft for me. Because I just got him, I think I got him like 80th overall or something, and he's been my wide receiver 1 as like the 7th best receiver in fantasy points per reception wise, which was really nice. I will say my tight end I'm pretty hyped on as well. Dallas Goedert's had a couple of solid games, and the Ravens defense just absolutely sold for me. They started out with 18 points after the kick return for a touchdown, finished with 2. I ended up losing by 3 points, so had they held the Dolphins even a little bit, I would have won. And then Eric McPherson, who was just, I mean, everyone saw what he did in the playoffs. So I think my team has a chance of turning around, but my running backs and wide receivers have just pretty much sold on me. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can't believe that you lost last week. So I saw the score like early, like halfway through the NFL.
The worst part was not only did Lamar put up 50, but the guy I was playing against started Marquise Goodwin, who was hurt.
It was Joe, right?
It was Joe. I still lost.
I knew it was Joe because only Joe plays guys. He doesn't edit his lineups ever.
Yeah.
But this happened to me every time I play Joe at a certain point. He always doesn't do the substitutions that he needs. So he's always a guy that scores 0 points, and most of the time I'll still lose at least one game to him a year.
How many points did you put up that week?
137.
Sheesh.
Which is not a bad number at all.
No, but like Lamar accounted for like 33% of it, more than 33%.
Yeah, it's been frustrating so far. I was hoping ETN would get a bit more playing time with James Robinson coming off the torn ACL. Yeah. It just hasn't really happened. Yeah,
he's been really good off the gate.
Yeah.
But
Denver's just been nowhere. But again, I think I have a couple solid pieces. With Keenan Allen coming back, hopefully that will help. But we'll see. Like I said.
So, obviously, I got Derrick Henry, but have you guys noticed that like all running backs have been like off to like a really slow start this year?
Yeah,
like JT hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Henry hasn't done anything. Dalvin Cook hasn't done anything.
Yeah. It's like Chubb has done something. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns last week, so
he's
the only one that's really done anything.
I didn't really watch the game today, but he had a major breakaway. Today.
It was CMC and Saquon also had really good week 1s.
Yeah, not week 2 though, because I played both of them with Shane. Yeah, it's just really weird because Eckler has been like the highest like rated running back that's actually been producing, and everyone else has just been off the really cold starts.
Yeah,
but
Eckler is a weapon in PPR because that's like another receiver plus his rushing.
Yeah,
he gets targeted a lot in their passing game,
and there's just like so many guys in that offense.
I know. Yeah,
it's just
Chargers have a really good offense.
My lineup, so I don't know if you guys know, but I three-peated. I'm going to three-peat in this league. I'm going to.
We'll see about that.
My lineup is off to a really shaky start so far. I'm 1-1, but my starting quarterback is Matt Stafford, who was really hot and cold this far. I'm honestly thinking of putting Wentz in because he's a number 4 ranked quarterback now.
Yeah, he's actually had 2 really solid games. So
but I'm not doing it this week because he's playing Philly. Yeah, it's not a good idea at all.
And honestly,
the way Philly's defense played last week,
right? And just his psyche, with Philly, like that's what I was thinking of.
I agree, but
I will say with the psyche thing though, this game is in Washington. Yeah. There is going to be a lot of Philly fans there, but it's not going to be the same as when he comes to Philly.
Oh yeah,
but
if you're willing to take that risk, I understand why you're not. Just because you are playing your former team, you don't always know how that's going to go. But I would feel a little bit more comfortable starting him with him being in Washington than him playing his first game against Phillies in Philly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just a quick point here. Just a quick point too. Quick question, because I went to the Eagles-Washington game in Washington last year, so I can even attest to what you said, Aiden. More Eagles fans show up in Washington for that game than Washington fans, which is kind of sad because the Redskins were a proud fan base, and now it's kind of dwindled into nothing with everything that's happened with the name change and stuff. But do you think when Carson Wentz gets introduced that you'll hear any boos?
Yeah, 100%.
Because, I mean, 100%. They're going to outnumber the Washington fans, but it's like...
They already, I believe it's the Dirty 30.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% that are busing like 400 people there.
Yeah, and like fans of Philly's doing it too. Yeah, they're going to take it over. Like I said, I was there last year. The stadium was pretty much empty. It was probably 60% full, the entire stadium. And of that 60%, it was probably 80% Eagles fans and 20% Washington fans, which is so sad.
Yeah, Mans can't catch a break.
No, I mean, literally every section in the lower level was taken by Eagles fans. It was sad. It was utterly sad. I mean, the Eagles fans are just going to have to overcome the artificial noise for that one, you know, and booing Carson. But I want to hear some boos. That would be so fun.
It's going to happen. You're going to hear them.
But keep going with your lineup.
Yeah, so I'm kind of rocking like a reserve lineup right now because I got Michael Carter filling in for J.K. Dobbins, but Michael Carter's like an RB2 or flex option right now in my eyes because he gets a lot of receptions and the Jets committed to him over Breece Hall, which I was really shocked about. But I know. They did that.
Yeah, it's like sometimes with the run game you think that one guy's going to be better, but it turns out the other guy just kind of has better 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see if Breece Hall can, outplay him in the next coming weeks. But.
Yeah, and I was mad about this pick. I wasn't mad, I just wasn't happy about this. I got A.J. Brown for my wide receiver 1, and I didn't think he was as good as he was, but I'm really happy with what I got so far, but I think he's going to... I originally said Devontae Smith is going to be the leading receiving yard guy on the Eagles, but it's going to be Brown. Like, I did not think he was going to be this good.
I agreed with you on that too.
Metcalf, which I'm not too happy about, drops a lot of passes, but I got late value for him. Mark Andrews, this is actually the first tight end that I took within like the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
I always wait.
A lot of targets. He gets a lot of targets.
Mm-hmm. And he had a slow week 1, but oh my God, he went off week 2.
Right.
I got Darrell Henderson. He's filling in for Gabe Davis, but I got to make that substitution since Gabe Davis is going to be back.
Week, right?
Yeah, I play defense week for week, but right now it's Broncos because they're playing San Fran and Brandon McManus. I really like my bench, though. I got Lazard, Dotson, Wentz, Harris, technically J.K. Dobbins, but he doesn't belong there. And yeah, Aiden, you're getting steamrolled.
I'm already,
you took Jeff
I'm
Wilson.
not feeling too confident. I think after you, I'll feel a little bit more confident, but yeah, I don't feel too good. Although I will say, after seeing the way the Titans played Monday night, I don't have any faith in them at all. So good luck to Derrick Henry, the rest of the Titans offense.
What a disastrous start for them. I mean, they could not have started worse. Honestly, that team right now feels like 2020 Eagles vibes.
Yeah,
just like
100% does.
Like going into that 2020 year, we were kind of expecting 9-10 wins, which I feel like Titans fans were expecting. I mean, 6 wins is 6 out of the question because they lost to the Giants, who are a bad team. The Giants are a bad team. They're 2-0, but they're a bad team.
Yeah, no, the Giants are one of those weird teams right now that they're 2-0. They've played very tight games. And it's sort of like one of those teams that feels like you're going to win the tight ones early, and then as the season gets later, there's games that will turn into losses. I mean, who knows at this point, because they have played I think that they've played above what I thought they were going to. Yeah. I just don't know how sustainable it is.
Right, yeah. They've played better than you've expected, but is that even really saying much? Because they haven't. I mean, in terms of in terms of an average NFL team, they have not played up to that.
Definitely not.
And it's like they've taken advantage of 2 easy teams in the beginning of the schedule. And who knows, maybe they'll get another couple games like that. So, yeah, maybe the Giants could get to 6 wins. But Tennessee, for losing to them at home. Oh,
that's bad.
Ugh, that was an ugly game in Buffalo. That was ugly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even watch that because I was at the Eagles game. So I didn't have a chance to tune into that at all, but...
Didn't miss anything.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, you just look at the score. It was for 41-7?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's ugly.
I'm kind of regretting taking Henry. I mean, I had to do it just for, sentimental reasons, but, I really, didn't take into account... Oh, no, you're good. I didn't take into account at all, A.J. Brown's presence. Henry is just a target.
For Henry, he did get the only touchdown for Tennessee, so you have that going for you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it was some cheese. It was 4th and 1, and at the goal line, so he had to have gotten that.
Yeah, right. You're bulldozer. Yeah, no, I do think I was hoping you would take Henry 1 this year too, because I wanted Henry to get out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
If I was in a 5-6 pick this year, I would have been scared because I would have not wanted Henry to fall there. And I'm having to choose between Henry and someone else because Henry is so gravitating.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, the 50-point game in Seattle last year, I mean, he can do that. And it's not like he's lost any of that. But thankfully, I didn't have to make a Henry decision.
You know, it's actually funny you brought that up because I was thinking, around draft time, our league manager, I was thinking of asking Brennan to give me, the 3rd overall pick or something instead. Because I was just thinking in my head, Henry's not going to go 1 if I don't pick him. I don't think he's going to go 2 either, because you had 2.
Yeah,
you were still picking Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I was taking Kupp.
And I don't know who had 3. I know Brennan had 4. Brennan probably would have taken him.
Yeah.
But, Toby had 3. I don't know him that well, but I don't think would have took him either.
I can't really tell you either. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know who would have took first instead of me. So
I think honestly, no, I don't think Toby would have taken. I'm pretty sure Toby said he wouldn't have wanted Henry this year.
Yeah. Well, he took a wide receiver, so I think he was going to do that regardless.
Who did he take? Do you know?
Jefferson, I think.
He took Jefferson 3. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a smart pick. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was doing math in my head, but I didn't want to play risky games and just kind of flex at me first pick too. So
yeah, it is. My team has the most points in the league so far.
Yeah,
and, by a lot too. I think I'm the only one with 300.
Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan, but when I play you, I want Hurts to have a shitty game.
Yeah, I'm at 302, and no one else is over 275.
Wait, you have 275 points through 2 games?
I have 302.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No one else has 275.
Ugh.
All
All right.
rain might be over.
I know, yeah.
Don't say it yet. I'm calling for more. I got more in the tank.
I feel like last year, too, everyone who played you just shit on you. And
oh, yeah. You were the most unlucky scenario last year.
It happened again. No, this is why I don't...
Yes. 303 points scored on you.
Badly. I just have, the worst luck every week. It's terrible.
I can't even believe that. That's... Who have you played? Who did you play?
Joe last week.
How many did Joe have?
140.
Are you kidding me?
And he had a guy that didn't even play.
And he started Godwin. I would have Josh Allen put up 40 points.
That's unbelievable.
Wait, who put up 3 points?
No, Josh Allen put up 40 points. So the last night, I had 2 guys play Monday. I had Goddard and I had Cook. And he only had Josh Allen. I was up 118 under 10. And he put up 40 points with Josh Allen. And I only put up 20-some, 25, whatever it was. I ended up losing by 3 because Cook had a terrible game. And Goddard did really well, but it wasn't enough to make up for how badly Cook played.
Yeah, Goddard had one of those games where you played a good football game, but you didn't play a great fantasy football game.
I needed him to have a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm. I needed the Eagles to pass for a touchdown to them, and they ran the ball.
Yeah. And all they needed Goddard for was those, little swing outs with Hurts, the RPO little things.
I'm also not too happy with Cook. I was going to get into that when we do more of the game breakdowns, but yeah, that was frustrating as well.
Yeah, let's transition to that right now, but you guys could actually see our lineups when this episode comes out on Instagram, so we're going to post them so you guys could follow along, and we'll do a poll and see which one you guys like the best. So yeah, let's transition into week 2. And week 2 is more exciting than week 1, which I was not expecting at all. I don't even know what game to start with.
Yeah, I'll start real quick. I want to start with the team that's running the league right now, and that's Buffalo. 2 dominating performances over the reigning Super Bowl champs. And then, we just touched on Tennessee, who looked very weak so far. Mm-hmm. But Buffalo didn't play with their food, Tennessee's a weak opponent, and they showed everyone that they're a weak opponent by demolishing them on Monday Night Football. Buffalo looks like the best team in the league right now. Easily the best team in the league. The run game is going to hurt them a little bit, though. I'm a little bit concerned about that they can't find a consistent run game. Because the fact of the matter is, the important games are played in the freezing cold. And obviously the Buffalo Bills know that. And Josh Allen is great in cold weather, so I'm not saying that it's too much of a concern, but at the same time, you are going to have to run the football because teams are going to adjust and they're going to make you have to run the football. I don't know. Buffalo needs to find something that's balanced with them, and they have James Cook on their bench, who I want to see them use a little bit more. I'm not really sure what's happening there. I drafted Singletary in my other league. Because I believed in him, but again, another slow start for him, and it just doesn't look like he's an answer there.
I think it was week 1. It was I think it may have been his first possession. James Cook got a fumble, and he didn't come in the rest of the game after that. Yeah.
I don't agree with that because, dude, remember in 2017, week 1, Thursday Night Football matchup, the opener was Kansas City in New England, first play, Kareem Hunt fumbles, and then he ends up scoring like 4 touchdowns in the game. You know, like
It was insane.
what is the thought process behind benching a person who makes a mistake? Like, that does not make any sense to me. So I want to see James Cook get some more carries. I mean, he's a running back. He's going to fumble at sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense to me. And again, Singletary doesn't really look like an answer, so I want to see them make a little bit of a switch there. Maybe just balance it out. Maybe Singletary can end up breaking some loose too. Buffalo still looks like the best team in the league. You know, the defense looks stifling.
I don't want to spend too much time on Buffalo because, like, Stephon Diggs says, like, he's him.
Yeah.
And that team is them.
Yeah.
Like, this is a side tangent, but how many more weeks do you think Tannehill has before Malik Willis comes in? Because I think it's coming, like, really fast.
Not if the Titans play the way they did on Monday.
Yeah. Not going to be long.
I think it's going to be, like, 2-3 weeks at this point.
I think the leash will be a little longer than that, but yeah, I definitely do see Willis coming in, and especially if we get to week 12 or 13 and you can see Tennessee's out of it, they're going to move on from Tannehill.
Yeah.
So they're going to get Willis in there. Like, we're going to see Willis start some games this year.
Do you think that would open the game up for, like, Derrick Henry and the rest of the offense if Willis comes in?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we did see in 2020 when Hurts came in for Wentz, we saw that offense get rejuvenated a little bit in those games that Hurts played. So, yeah, maybe. I could definitely see that.
I would say maybe, but the other thing, too, I think coming out of college, Hurts was definitely more prepared for the NFL than Willis was.
Right. 100%.
And the thing is, when you have a rookie quarterback like that, defenses are going to be a lot more aggressive. So they're probably going to send a lot more blitz packages, probably stuff up the box, forcing Willis to throw. So I don't know how many carries Henry will get just solely based off of that.
It's just, I'm trying to, like, think of positive scenarios where Henry goes off, but they're not many.
Yeah.
Not many at all. And let's transition to the Packers. Like I said, 1 week fluke. They're back. And Rodgers even said this post-game. They got blown out week 1. They destroyed a division rival next week, and now they're going to go off and play a really tough opponent who I think they're going to win against just based on, like, the scenario of, like, Mike Evans not playing and the whole offensive line. But
Right. Yeah, Rodgers had a good game. 19 for 25, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 131.4 passer rating. Yeah, he had a good game. And it wasn't like very flashy numbers or anything, but it was very solid. The offense was fluid. It was a well-oiled machine. And yeah, I mean, he owns that. He owns Dub Bears.
yeah, I don't think we're not going to see, like, big stats out of him this year just because of the receivers. Like, it's going to be, like, 300-yard, 2-touchdown games like, all season.
I think that's what he needs. And I think that, like, the Packers offense should focus on controlling the ball, controlling the clock. Just give that defense time to rest and then let them do their thing. You know, like, they can win games with their defense this year.
Oh, yeah. Their run game is, like, really strong this year, too.
Yeah, Jones looks really good. So, and, I mean, Dylan behind him is just, he's a workhorse, dude. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I definitely agree.
I also want to criticize the Bears for a little bit as well. The fact that Justin Fields only threw 11 passes the entire game is ridiculous to me. If you're expecting this guy to be your franchise quarterback, let him try to play to prove he can be your franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Wait, this is news to me.
Having a quarterback in this era throw 11 attempts, completing only 7 of them.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's not going to happen.
And what are you getting out of that? You want to see this guy improve. You want to see this guy start to take steps and have a huge test for him, like, just to go to Lambeau and play well. I'm not saying you have to go there and win the game, but just go there and play well. You know, don't turn the ball over. And they didn't even give him those opportunities. Like, you just didn't even. It was a waste. It was a waste of a week in Fields' development.
And the thing was, like, yes, the Packers ended up dominating the game, but the Bears had it.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It was close.
They would have won, but they were up 7-3 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I felt like that the defense was actually holding Rodgers enough. Had the offense actually done something, I think the game would have been a lot closer, and the Packers wouldn't have put up as many points as they ended up putting up.
Yeah, they played scared. They really played scared.
I'm just trying to conceptualize that. That's like less than 3 passes a quarter. Was there like 50-mile-an-hour winds? There couldn't have been. Like, what?
No. It's their offense.
Yeah, and they were playing behind. It makes no sense to me. Like, why would you not be trying to air it out?
Yeah.
You're playing behind it. I don't know.
That's
crazy.
It didn't
make any sense. I was going to say that too, Aiden. Good for pointing that out. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Mac Jones and like Josh Allen threw more passes in that game, like that one game last year than Justin Fields did.
Yeah.
That's
and the 49ers and ironically the Bears threw more in the Typhoon the other week too.
Yeah, that's like poverty franchise stuff. Eagles had a dominating win, and I thought they were gonna lose this week, and I thought it was gonna be like one of the 3 toughest games all year, but what do I know? Like, they came out from the gate, they let 1 touchdown first drive, and then after that, it was like the NFC Championship all over again. That's kind of how it happened. They scored first, and they didn't score again.
Yeah, That was a really good performance by them. Obviously, offensively in the first half, everything was just clicking for them. They dominated the line of scrimmage. The offensive line protected Hurts beautifully. He didn't get pretty much any pressure at all the whole night. The Vikings just sat 2 safeties back and sat in zone the whole night, and Hurts just picked it apart. It was very easy for him. The receivers were getting wide open. I mean, when you have route runners like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, you have 3 guys who are going to be open. You know what I mean? And it's so hard to scheme and cover those 3. So I thought it was like just so dumb by the Vikings to just sit back and let Hurts have time to scan the field and make those reads and find those guys sitting in the soft spots. I think that the game plan that the Lions had would have worked better this week because you didn't have a chance. They didn't, like the coaching by the Vikings, they didn't give their players a chance. The secondary had no shot. They were completely overmatched. You had an old Patrick Peterson, an older Harrison Smith back there. They were just overmatched. There wasn't much talent in the secondary, and I think that the scheme by them to trust their secondary pretty much. That was pretty much their scheme was, I'm going to trust our secondary to be able to sit back and cover. And it was just not a good scheme at all. They didn't get any pass rush. So, yeah, that's the result you're going to get, You're going to get picked apart.
Are you worried at all about the Darius Slayer injury?
I haven't seen anything on it. Do you know what it was or anything?
No, it just looked like really... it looked like he was fighting through it, and then as soon as he got the pick, he was like, okay, that's it. For the second pick, he was like, oh, that's it for me for the night.
Yeah, I think that he was just in a little bit of pain, but I'm not concerned. I think that he's going to be okay.
Yeah, because I was saying this to Brennan. I think he's the best corner in the NFL right now.
These first 2 weeks, definitely. Yeah, for sure. But if we're ranking corners, I don't know if I can put him top 5. I don't think I can.
Not top 5?
No.
Really? I've never seen anyone do that to Jefferson, though. That's
Yeah, that was really impressive.
That's prison stuff.
But, I mean, he did also get cooked by DK Metcalf. I mean, 2 years ago, but still. He is prone for getting exposed a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, Jefferson, that was a terrible week. That was just a terrible week.
The other thing, so I also thought the Eagles were going to lose this game. And, Jack, you already talked about the defense of the Vikings. I want to touch on our offense. I thought the play calling by Kevin O'Connell was terrible. They didn't run the ball at all in those 2 red zone situations that Kirk Cousins threw picks. And that last one, it was first and goal at the 10-yard line. They passed the ball all 4 times. That last pick was Slay on Jefferson. There was another safety behind him. So they're literally dropping back 2 safeties in the end zone, the quarterback back in the end zone, because they knew they were just going to throw the ball in the end zone that time. I don't understand why you don't run Cook once, if not twice, in that situation.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to let you get that because obviously you had Cook in fantasy. Yeah, I completely agree. I thought that the Vikings were going to try and set a tone on offense running the ball, and they didn't at all. And even when the passing game was not working through the first 2 quarters, they continued abandon the run. And there was just no need for it. You're down 17 points. It looks like a lot, but it's just not. You know what I mean? Coming out of the locker room at halftime, you're down 17. You're not out of it. And they completely abandoned the run, which is probably the strength of their offense.
Well, yeah, because they're just relying on Kirk. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is as bad as people think he is, but he's not great either. He's going to be your solid quarterback that's going to do enough to get you to win games as long as you don't ask him to do too much. And I feel like the Vikings were asking him to do way too much.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't understand why Cook only ran the ball 6 times for 17 yards.
Right. It makes no sense. Mm-hmm. You can't excuse only giving a guy like Dalvin Cook six touches in a game.
Especially not in red zone situations.
Yeah, and you scored 7 points.
The picks in the end zone are atrocious.
Right.
That bad play calling.
Terrible, yeah. I completely agree. And, I mean, that was a game where the Vikings, they don't match up with the Eagles talent-wise, but at the same time, they're not an untalented roster. Like, they have good players. They have some really nice players. Obviously, Jefferson's the best receiver in the league. No question. Even after that game, he's still the best receiver in the league. And I don't know about you two guys, but I'm a Kirk Cousins defender.
Same here.
I don't think he's terrible. And I think like he puts up good numbers, which I do think that are cushioned a little bit. But at the same time, like, I think that he's okay enough, if that makes sense. Like, he's just not great. And he's just so close to getting up that hump. So close, but he just every time he gets halfway, he just slides right back down. You know what I mean?
I think he's better than good. I think he's literally like a hair below Derek Carr. Like, he's in that third tier of quarterback.
15 to 11.
Yeah, and I think that game really wasn't his fault. Like you alluded, the play calling was terrible. They didn't use the run game, but one of the better thrown balls of that night was to Irv Smith Jr., and he dropped it, and he could have walked in the end zone. And if he caught it, that would have changed the entire scope of the game, and wouldn't have been a blowout. They could have won, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, too. They actually made plays. They blocked the field goal and got a clutch interception, which wasn't Hurts' fault at all.
No.
2 plays that you made to put yourself in a position to make it a competitive game, and you blew it both times.
Yeah.
So, and that's the whole thing. Like, to me, I'm not too concerned about the Vikings because they still made a lot of plays. They just needed, I think that this was Kevin O'Connell's wake-up call to the NFL. That it's not just going to be like the Packers every single week. I was hoping that I would see a lot more out of him with what he did with the Rams and going through the adversity that the Rams have gone through at certain points in games, and there's just no adjustment ever made. Yeah. So that's something he's going to have to work on, or else the Vikings, with all the talent they have, with all the potential they have, are not going to reach it.
Let's jump to the other side real quick, too, and let's just touch on the Eagles real quick. And I don't want to go too far into it because we definitely have a lot of bias, but, I mean, man, that was impressive. That defense looked really, really good. And, like, the Vikings have a good offense. And the fact that the Eagles made them look like that really says something. And honestly, in my opinion, the rest of the NFC should not necessarily be scared of the Eagles, but they're in the conversation for the NFC contenders right now. The Eagles definitely are.
Yeah, I'm really happy the defense showed out to this game because they needed to, essentially. But I look at week 1 against a way worse team, and they disappeared for the whole first half. What I'm kind of getting is this going to be the Eagles the rest of the season? We're going to get great performance, and they're going to fall short to a not-so-great opponent. I just want to see consistency because it should have been flipped, honestly. Like, we should have played really well against the Lions and struggled against the Vikings.
Yeah, I hear you, but at the end of the day, the truth is definitely somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think the Eagles are as bad as they were against the Lions defensive, and I don't think that they were as good as they were against the Vikings necessarily. Like, they're not going to do what they did against Minnesota to any of the top NFC teams. They're not going to do that to the Rams. They're not going to do that to Tampa. They're not even going to do that to Dallas with Dak. So, yeah, I definitely hear you. The truth is somewhere in the middle, though.
So
I have a lot more faith in the offense.
Yeah, completely agreed. The offense will do that to anyone.
So, Burrow has been sacked 13 times through 2 games. Is it time to hit the panic button?
Yeah, definitely. This was a problem last year, and teams are adjusting to Cincinnati's offense. They're in a Super Bowl hangover right now. Normally, if a team had a good offensive line and they were off to this start, I would say you can avoid the panic button for now because they'll get things together. I think that having a good offensive line is just the key to any great offense. And yeah, in Cincinnati, it looks horrible right now. They can't protect Burrow. They're struggling to block in the run game, and they're struggling to put up points. And it's so weird because last year, at least on paper, it looks like they had a worse O-line. And then it looked like they improved their O-line coming into this year, but it's just, again, they can't find any rhythm. So, yeah, honestly, I'm hitting the panic button because if you can't block for Burrow, you're not going to be able to move the ball. You're just not.
And I don't know what they could do, like, right now. They just kind of have to play the season out.
Yeah, right.
I've never really seen a trade deadline in the NFL where they, like, restructure a whole offensive line. So.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like they have such a predicament coming up because they have to think about the Jesse Bates contract, who's probably the anchor of their defense. This is kind of scary.
Yeah, no, they spent roughly $70 million to fix the offensive line, supposedly, and it just looks the same, if not worse, than last year. I mean, at this point, Burrow's on pace to get sacked 111 times.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, yeah, by 70, he'll be in a stretcher.
That's even a possibility should scare the crap out of the Bengals, especially because Burrow's already torn his ACL once in the NFL.
Right.
Like, there's a huge chance of, if he keeps getting it like this, he will not be able to stay healthy enough to last this season, and especially not a full career with the Bengals. And you thought this guy would be your franchise quarterback after you first overall.
Yep.
And a big part of that staying healthy. And I totally get why they wanted Jamar Chase to be with him. But man, you start looking now, not picking an offensive line in last year's draft.
Yeah, and Penei Sewell looks really good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was who I was penciled in the Bengals to get. And again, I understand getting Chase because he played with Burrow in college. But you need a strong offensive line in order to have a franchise quarterback.
I don't think it's still the wrong move. Like, Chase is a stud, and I don't really think you could say that was a wrong pick, because it did work out really well for them.
It's not a wrong move right now. If Burrow only lasts 10 years because he keeps getting hit like this, it will be a wrong move.
Okay,
yeah,
I see
maybe
that.
Maybe in like 5 or 6 years, I think.
I don't think we're going to know right now whether or not it was a wrong move, but if Burrow's career is shortened and he keeps having substantial injuries, it will be a wrong move.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Raiders and Broncos too, because they had a hyped up off season and wow, just a really bad start for both of them. Raiders are 0-2, and I consider the Broncos 0-2 because they look like an 0-2 football team. They just look terrible. Wilson, I'm looking at all 22 film clips of Wilson missing Javonte Williams wide open on the goal line, and it was just right in front of him. Like, Williams was literally right in front of him, 10 yards in front of him, standing on the goal line for a touchdown. All Wilson had to do was throw. He could have thrown it between his legs, and it would have been a touchdown.
The goal line continues to haunt him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they really struggled. And I was watching some of the play calling by Nathaniel Hackett in the third quarter. I mean, just running bonehead plays on third downs when you're really struggling to move the ball. And it's just like, keep it simple. You know, that's what you're thinking. Keep it simple. You have Russell Wilson. Don't try and do too much. But he's doing these exotic formations and all these motions, running these guys on sweeps. I mean, if he was in Philadelphia, that would have been loud.
Yeah, I also, I hate saying this, but I just think Russell Wilson is, way out of his prime at this point, and that contract is just a major mistake. It's going to hold them back for years and years to come. They didn't learn from their previous mistakes. They're in the same predicament.
Yeah, right. I don't see Wilson working out for them there.
No.
It really looks bad. But on the flip side, in Vegas, I'm not really too concerned about them. I want to know your thoughts, Aiden, because I know that we've talked about the Raiders before, and I forget what your opinion was, but I want to see what you think of them now that they're 0-2, now that you have 2 games to feel them out a little bit.
So, I still have the Raiders going to finish in third place. I had them initially locked in as a late wild card. I don't know too much if that's going to be the case anymore. I still think that they're better than the Broncos are, just because I have no faith in the Broncos play. Like you said, Hackett's play calling's been terrible. I just don't really have any faith in them. I think the Raiders have a lot more potential. I think they have a lot more stars. And the other thing is, too, they should have won that game against Arizona.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They played a very, very good Chargers team close. Like, you were saying the Bills are the best team in the AFC. I think the Chiefs are a very close second. Mahomes right now, 17, 0 interceptions. If he keeps playing like that, the Bills and the Chiefs will be fighting for that one spot easily.
Yeah.
So they lost to a very close Chargers team, a very good Chargers team. They lost in a heartbreaker to Arizona. I'm not too worried about them. They play Tennessee this week. I think you can use that as a bounce back and take off from there. And then you play Denver afterwards. I think they should be 2-2, after week 4. If they lose to Tennessee or Denver, then my opinion is going to change.
Yeah, I definitely.
Right now, I have them third. I think they're going to finish somewhere 8-9 wins. If they get 9, that might be enough for Wildcard. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I definitely thought that it was going to be Chiefs 1, Chargers 2, Raiders 3. Broncos 4.
That Kyler throw is the early pick for throw of the year, though. That was insane.
Wow. I mean, he looks good this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's out to prove people wrong.
Yeah, I was at work when that game happened, and I saw that they were down like a possession or two, like in the fourth quarter, and I was like, "Oh, Kyler didn't do his homework." And then I saw that throw.
Yeah,
I was like, "Shit!"
Did you see they were down 23-7?
Yeah,
yeah.
I said it around that point, and
because I was thinking that. I didn't say it, but I was thinking.
No, I think that's what everyone was saying. It's like, oh, fourth quarter, here we go again. Like, you got blown out by the Chiefs, which, like, Kyler didn't even play bad in that game, but it's not like he gave you a lot of faith either. And then you're losing to the Raiders afterwards.
Yeah.
So you're just like, maybe the Cardinals just had, like, a good run last year and just don't have it again. And then they come back, and now it's a lot more open, especially because you got the Rams who got crushed by the Bills. And I don't think that's a testament to how the Rams will play the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But also now you've got the 49ers. Like, now they have Garoppolo back, but they're still 1-1. I thought Seattle might be a little bit better, but they're not. Like, every team is 1-1 in that division.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's still going to be the most competitive division in football. It's going to be highly competitive. I don't really know how it's going to shake up. That's the one division I'm still questioning.
Yeah, honestly, even though the Rams and Niners are two good teams, I don't know if they'll get over 10 wins. Like, it's definitely in the realm of possibility that a 10-win team wins the division.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about the Rams game, too, is that they were crushing the Falcons and then let them come back. I understand letting your foot off the gas. You already kind of won the game, but they're in too good of a division to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Like the Falcons, everyone knows are going to be a bad team this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how that's going to go, but yeah, I definitely agree with that. The other game I want to touch on, and I think we got 2 more games I think were the best. This one I think was the best, and it was the Broncos-Jets game, just because, so first of all, I don't think Mitch Chubb should have run that touchdown in.
Yeah,
I don't think put them up 30-17, 155 remaining, and then the Broncos kicker misses the extra point. Which at the time, probably most people watching that game didn't think it would be that consequential.
Right.
And it ended up being pretty consequential, and the Jets scored a touchdown, get the onside kick, and scored another touchdown, and then win 31-30. So, I don't know. Like, I don't think the Jets are going to be good. I don't really think the Browns are that good.
Nah.
I don't think this game, at the end of the year, most people are not going to remember this game just because it won't have a meaningful impact to either one of these teams.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those crazy things where it's like, how did this happen?
Yeah, that was a super entertaining game, and I was really impressed by Joe Flacco. He was turning back the clock a little bit. I mean, 4 touchdowns, 287 yards, I think.
Sheesh.
I mean, and he's, third highest in passing yards so far through 2 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
The other thing, too, a lot of people are getting hyped on Garrett Wilson now because he had those 2 TD catches.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's sort of like the whole question mark about the Jets. Like, are any of these guys actually good? Are they just going to have a couple of weeks that they look great?
Yeah.
And then, flounder. I don't know. And that's what's so entertaining about the Jets this year. Like, again, I don't think they're going to be that good. I think that the AFC is a lot better than people thought it was going to be, which makes it harder for them to compete because they just don't have the talent with the Bills and now the Dolphins. And I think the Patriots are still heads above the water just because of coaching-wise.
Right.
But they're going to be a fun team to watch because they have all these young guys.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, their skill positions are actually pretty entertaining, like you just said. They're pretty fun to watch. Wilson, like you mentioned. I like Braxton Berrios. He's pretty underrated. Elijah Moore is pretty underrated.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about the running backs earlier because of Jack's fantasy team with Michael Carter and Breece Hall. They kind of have an entertaining squad there, and once they get Zach Wilson back, I think that they could just be a sneaky team. They'll just win 6 or 7 games, but of those 6 wins, they might have a couple teams in there where you're like, oh, that's a good team that they beat. They catch someone slipping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did beat the Bengals last year, and the Bengals made all the way to the Super Bowl.
Exactly, yeah,
So
and they beat.
I feel like this is a much better Jets team than the last year's one.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I think that they could shape the AFC East without actually competing, which could be pretty interesting.
I completely agree, and I was literally just going to say, like, if Buffalo sleeps on them one week, they could sneak one in there.
So, obviously, the best game you probably will want to talk about, I want to talk about it, the Ravens-Dolphins game.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised we waited this long to bring it up.
I know, we should have.
Last but not least,
yeah,
I think
really.
that's a good way to wrap up.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, Lamar Jackson. I just want to start with Lamar because why don't we follow the flow of the game and we'll hype up the Ravens a little bit first. Lamar's really, really good, and I think that he's silencing doubters in front of our eyes. Even though the end of the game looked a little shaky for him, he had a bad fumble, and then he threw a really bad interception to Xavier Howard. But, I mean, that start of the game was really good. He threw some tight balls to Mark Andrews that just, like, he threw with a lot of zip, and it was, like, through a couple defenders. I was really impressed on that aspect. I mean, obviously, Lamar's a runner, and he does what he does with his legs. But, yeah, I was really impressed with the arm in the beginning. And then why don't we flip it over to Tua, too, a little bit? I mean, Tua was really, really good. A little shaky in the beginning, but second quarter on, Tua played really well. I was impressed. And I think that game solidified that Tua is a starting NFL quarterback. Not a superstar, anything like that. He can start in the NFL and win games.
Yeah, you're in the spot. I don't know who their backup is, but...
Yeah. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's
You were going to say...
Brissett. I was going to say Brissett.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, he went to Miami.
Sheesh.
Yeah, their three quarterbacks on the roster are Tua, Bridgewater, and Skylar Thompson, who's a rookie from Kansas State.
Yeah.
So I think that Tua's going to be the starter there for a while to start that team quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from Teddy, but
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill came alive.
I know. Yeah. I mean, he has completely changed that offense, too, because they went from a pretty average offense to that's a top 5 offense.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the interesting thing about Tyreek, like, most people know, like, as great as Tua played this game, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill saying that is obviously the hype of people. But what Tyreek Hill did get right is that Tua is a lot better than people thought that he was.
Yeah, no.
There was a reason that he was able to win so much at Alabama, that he was able to take over the national championship game with Jalen Hurts early and win that game.
Yeah.
Like, he's just got that dog mentality in him that I'm going to keep proving you wrong. I don't care if you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't care where I started from and how I got here. I know I can compete. I'm going to do it and keep proving you guys. And I never really had anything against Tua. I think that he was overhated just because people thought he was going to be, like, the best quarterback ever. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's a hard... Like, what people are trying to say that he was is a hard point to get to. And not something that you're going to get as a rookie quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback that had a lot of adjustments that he had to make. Yeah. Like, not always the smoothest passer in college. Like, we knew that there was a lot of weaknesses to his game, but we also knew there's a lot of strengths. And his strengths are finally overcoming his weaknesses. Yeah. And now he's going to turn that quarterback that everyone thought he was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, last year, it was fair to say that Miami was probably regretting taking Tua over Justin Herbert. But now, I don't think that they really regret that as much because I think Tua has come into his own a little bit. And, yeah, he's not Justin Herbert. But at the same time, he's good enough to... Like I said, he's good enough to start in this league. And I think that Tua is going to be good enough to win playoff games. I think that he will be. I think so. I mean, Miami's right now 2-0, having played a couple. I mean, beating New England is tough, regardless of what their team is like. Right. You still have Belichick on the other sideline, and then you beat Baltimore in a huge comeback. They are playing Buffalo this week. I'm interested to see how that goes. I don't think they're going to win, but if they can keep it close, it's going to say a lot about their team. Yeah, and I think that's a 6.5 spread. If they can cover that, I'll be impressed if they can cover that. Yeah. For sure. Do you know where that game is? Is that in Buffalo? Or? After that for the Dolphins. Yes. So you play the Bills, then you play Bengals, Jets, Vikings, Steelers. 4 wins. That sounds like 4 wins, yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe not the Vikings, but the Vikings could be a toss-up now. I don't really know how I feel about the Vikings. Yeah, no, that's definitely a toss-up. That'll be a good matchup. But I would say Bengals, Jets, Steelers should be wins. Yeah, those should be wins. At that point, at the very least, you're 6-1. That's not a bad place to be as an NFL team.
No, definitely, yeah.
So we're going to transition to the NBA. Late last night, news broke that Ime Udoka was in an intimate relationship with someone in the Celtics organization. And then I read that line and I was like, okay. And then I remembered he was in a relationship. I was like, oh, probably shouldn't do that. But then I read the line below that and it was like, they're thinking of suspending it. I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, suspending it for the full year. And I'm like, are you kidding right now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's such a joke how the NFL has handled domestic violence cases against women. The fact that they're suspending a man for consensually having a relationship with a woman is just... well, it's not the NFL. It is the NBA. But still, I mean, it's kind of the same concept. I just find it ironic and idiotic.
This is not the first instance of it happening either. Yeah, this is like so far from it. It's
so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, I don't want to think race played a factor into it, but when Stephen A. blamed it on race, like, he kind of made a good point.
I know. No, I definitely see that. And it's like, the fact that this story is getting more media attention than Brett Favre stealing millions of dollars.
That's the part that really gets to me.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Like, Brett Favre, we're talking about felonies here, like, and just the scummiest of scummy crimes. You know what I mean? And Ime Udoka, like, he cheated on his wife. It's like, you shouldn't have done that, I guess, but are we not going to sit here and act like billions of people have cheated on their partners in the entire world's history? You know what I mean? I mean, we've had kings and queens who had 7 wives, and we have all these politicians and leaders now who cheat and, whatever. We had a president probably cheated on his wife. I mean, probably 2 presidents who cheated on
probably all of them.
Yeah, honestly, I mean,
there's a lot of, The one thing I will say about this, and this is something that I was sort of thinking about as well, and one president did come to mind, was the Bill Clinton scandal.
That's what I was thinking.
Was that it's a person in position of power, and it seems like what the code of conduct that seems like he broke, and this wasn't necessarily said, but this is sort of what was implied, to me at least, was that he was probably being with intimately a superior or inferior staff member, and at that point, that's where it gets a little bit more shady. Where if you are the superior, you cannot be with an inferior staff member because then you hold a lot more powers of position. Not necessarily in the romantic way, especially if it was consensual, but more of the fact that now you could start getting special favors for that person. That was the Arkansas coach, I'm forgetting his name, who was fired in 2013 for something very similar to what I just mentioned, where he was giving special favors to a woman that he was sleeping with and then put her on the Arkansas staff. Like, that wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good that if he had enough position to fire her, if they stopped seeing each other. So I understand it being suspended. I definitely think it shouldn't be talked about as much as it is, considering a lot of the other stuff that's happening. And I also feel like the Celtics could have handled this in staff as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
That's the part that really gets me, is that it could have been handled in-house. It didn't need, like, you could have said, look, this happened. It's, like, obviously not great that it happened. We're going to handle it on our own. And the fact that he said that he was thinking about something away, it definitely tells me that there is a lot of guilt on his mind. Yeah. Like, he knows he was in the wrong.
Right, yeah. I mean, he was. I'm not trying to... 100%.
Yeah. It's, like, not the issue that he was cheating, though, because, like, they're not punishing him because he cheated, because, like, if that's the case, then Tristan Thompson would never play in the NBA again.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's because he was sleeping with a lower staff. Well, my guess is it was probably a lower staff.
Right, and he should get punished, but this is what you do. Right. I mean, you say... Ime Udoka suspended 1 or 2 games for violating team conduct, and you just leave it at that. You don't have to specify what happened, and no one has to know. But instead, this gets leaked out. I mean, yeah, I completely agree. This was handled terribly.
It was handled terribly, and I didn't like the wording that they used either, because they said, let me pull up the exact quote by Shams quickly.
It was a consensual, intimate relationship, right?
Consensual relationship. When you use the word improper and consensual together, it makes it sound like, I don't know, to me it just makes it sound like there's no reason for being suspended. And I also think having the word improper consensual relationship means that there was something wrong, but also when you throw in the word consensual to me, it means it's an okay relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but that was the feeling that I got, where they could say it was an improper relationship with a, lower staff member, and then it would make sense.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I feel like there's got to be way more to this than we know about, because there's just no way that you get a year for that.
Quickly,
No.
because I feel like there is a lot more to this story, but this is also, this is how reporters make their money. They have to report the story that they're told.
Yeah.
So I totally get why it was. I just feel like the whole thing was worded really, really weirdly. I think the Celtics didn't handle it the best either. And the one thing I am thankful about is that in a lot of cases like this, the woman gets her name put out there when there's no reason for it to be.
Yeah.
I really hope that her name never gets put out for her sake, for her career.
Right.
Because it's not necessary.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, I completely just let people speculate.
The Celtics do that part decently and don't release her name, and nobody tries to find out who she is.
Right. Yeah, because you're completely right. That's just so unnecessary for that.
Yeah, it's bad enough that he's gotten in trouble that this has become a story. I don't think it should be dragged out any more than it has to.
Yeah. And on a lighter note, everyone's waiting on Ben Simmons to speak about his account of how his last year and a half played out. And I watched the entire JJ Redick podcast, so you guys do not have to. It was really interesting, but there are a couple key takeaways that I got from it. One was he did acknowledge that he felt that Doc and Joel called him out as soon as the game ended. And he also recounted the 2 days he was at practice and told his side of the story. And it was really refreshing to hear it, because he said that Doc was the day he got kicked out of practice, he was telling Doc that he was just trying to do right by being there, but he didn't want to actively participate in the stuff that they were doing. And he said a minute into practice, he called him to demonstrate defense and all this stuff, and he's like, I'm really not about it. And he's he said he made an effort to single him out and put him out there. And I kind of do understand him not wanting to do that, but he did shine a lot of light in saying he handled things wrong, but the team did not support him at all when he was going through difficult times.
Yeah.
I know how you guys feel about Ben, but I just want to hear what you guys think about all that.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, dude, you're trying to do the right thing. This is the right thing. I'm not saying it's wrong to demand a trade or anything, but you want to do the right thing. The right thing is you keep that behind closed doors, and then you show up to practice and you show up for your teammates, and you don't make a mockery of the NBA.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And he didn't take any accountability for that in JJ Redick's podcast. So for me, this just further reinforces my opinion on Ben Simmons, that he's a weak-minded individual that takes no accountability for his actions. And he will never be successful in the NBA as long as he's that person.
The other thing that frustrates me, too, is that he didn't start citing the mental illness stuff until he got thrown out of practice.
Right. And where's that now? Where was that?
Right.
I don't know.
And I'm not, maybe he got a lot more, maybe there was stuff that was added because he got thrown out of practice. I don't know. But the other thing, too, if you're showing up to practice, you have to be expecting, regardless of what you want to do, that someone's going to ask you to practice if you're there.
Yeah.
If he doesn't show up at all, I would still not like him for that. But at least at that point, you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be part of this team, regardless of what's happening. Basically what Le'Veon Bell did, where he never showed up to any Steelers stuff at all and sat out a year. You don't like him for that, but at least you're not, directly impacting the team.
Yeah.
Where it felt like Ben was always... And, the other thing, too, Ben does not live in Philly. Ben has a house in Los Angeles. So whatever he was doing, practicing with, St. Joe's and all the schools around Philly during the season last year, and, if you're in Philly, you either are going to keep a low profile, or you're going to practice with the team that's paying you millions of dollars that you're supposed to play for.
Yeah, I don't want to butt in and correct you, but he said this in the podcast, he still has an apartment in Philadelphia.
Okay. But his main home
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying he can't come to Philly at all, because obviously that's where he still was part of the team. But it was more like it felt like he was still trying to keep a high profile in the city without actually doing anything.
I get that. A thing that I did take away from it, though, is he felt like he lost support of his teammates, like, immediately after the game. And I think that could have been handled way better, especially, I mean, obviously, I don't know if Ben made it known that he was, like, dealing with internal stuff, and maybe his teammates could have been there. He did dispel a lot of rumors on the podcast. He said that the whole leaving the group chat thing didn't happen.
Yeah, I knew that.
He said the whole Sixers flying out to Ben's house never happened. A lot of things. It was funny. They talked about him in the candy store at the mall, and the guy goes up and saying, "Yo, Russell Westbrook, what's up?"
What did he say about that?
He thought it was funny, and he was just like, "It's my luck that, like, of all," because he was in the mall like the whole day. And he said of all places, like the candy store, and like everyone just said, like, "Oh, of course he's in the candy store of all places."
Yeah. No, I mean, there definitely is going to be a lot of overblown stories, especially when he's not really one of those people. Like, this is one of the first times I remember him speaking in a one-on-one situation, not in a press conference. Yeah. He just doesn't he always sort of, that's why you never really know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand that, but at the same point, it makes him, also when he's like avoiding the team, it can make the perception that he's also just cares more about himself than the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's not willing to tell his side of the story until months afterwards. And see, that's the other thing too that I don't like, is it feels like he has time to construct his own narrative to then finally tell it.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that.
Telling what's happening in the moment that it's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I agree with that. And to piggyback off that, I feel like he's lying about what he said about showing up to practice. I think that he showed up to practice that day to make a spectacle, to draw attention back to it. And not necessarily in the sense that he's an attention whore or anything. Just that, like, to kind of make a message and make a statement, kind of. And I don't think he was trying to do the right thing, like he said on Redick's podcast. I don't think that's true, honestly. I think that's a lie. I can't prove it, but that's just what I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think that he's lying about that.
And the other thing, too, I just want to touch quickly. The reason he was blamed for what happened in that playoff game is because that's the one moment that will stick out with me throughout. And I was at game 1 of that series. I watched every game of that series. I remember the collapse when they were up 27 and still blame Doc Rivers for that. But the one moment that vividly sticks out to me is Ben Simmons being a foot underneath the basket, and instead of going for the pass, he hit the thigh ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would totally change the momentum of Game 7.
And I want to put a bow on something real quick, too. This notion that Embiid threw Simmons under the bus in his press conference after the game is completely false. And, like, it's just so crazy that Embiid, in the same answer that everyone focuses on with Simmons saying, like, or when Embiid said, "Oh, we had a dunk and it led to a 1 point because we missed a free throw." In that same answer, Embiid then criticizes himself for turning the ball over late in that game, down 2 when Gallinari stole it, and then Trae Young hit a 3. Like, Embiid brought that up and blamed himself. So, like, this notion that Embiid, like, threw Simmons under the bus, which Simmons got at, which Simmons thought, you know, which he admitted to thinking in JJ Redick's podcast, it's so false, and it just boggles my mind that Ben Simmons could literally actually believe that. When it's right there. You listen to the interview, listen to the question, and listen to what Embiid says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what happened. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who did it. A dunk was passed, which led to a missed free throw. It doesn't matter who did it. That's what happened, and that's why we lost the game. So the fact that he takes that personally, it just makes me so angry.
I think part of it is they had, like, a really strained relationship for a while. You could just tell, like, in the interview, like, they've had problems for a while.
Yeah.
And
no, I can agree with that. But it's like, that's on Simmons, and it's not on Embiid.
Really key to me as well. If you're an NBA player, if you're in the spotlight, you're going to get criticized.
Yeah.
It's something like, and I feel like that's the thing. Like, if Ben Simmons and I do believe this for Ben Simmons, I believe he does have anxiety.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
believe that when he steps on the court, he does not have fun playing basketball.
Right.
He tries to do the best that he can, but I don't think he's a player that he thought he was going to be. I think he's a lot more work than he thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then he just needs to realize he needs to walk away. The money, the fame, whatever it is that it's still making him play basketball is not worth it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I just don't think he's that player to be able to put up with the criticism. Which, again, I don't blame him at all. It is being a professional athlete, I can't even imagine it. With all the pressure that's on you,
Yep.
with everything that you're expected to do, especially being a first overall draft pick.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right. It's tough. I can't imagine. I mean, sure, it's extremely tough.
Yeah.
But if it is too tough for you to be able to put up with it, you just need to walk away.
Yeah, right.
And
Walk away to the Nets, to walk away from the game completely. Give your time to actually focus on yourself and then decide if you want to come back.
Right.
I got two small points. I think the problem with Ben in Philadelphia was he was the second or third option. I think Ben can thrive if he's the fourth or fifth option, and that could be a really good championship roster because you don't need him to do much, but he's a starter and he'll do the stuff that most of the guys won't do.
Well, to push back on that though, real quick, I feel a player like Draymond or Dennis Rodman is the perfect player for that role that you're talking about.
Yeah.
The fourth or fifth option that is pretty much there for their energy on defense. Simmons although he's a great defender, he doesn't do what Draymond and Dennis Rodman do. He doesn't...
Playmaking, I think he does, but I think he does more on the playmaking.
I don't think
he does more on the playmaking end, I think.
I disagree. In the half court, no.
How many shots he opened up from three for everyone
in
else?
Transition. Though.
Yeah.
But not in the half. In the half court, he stands on the block and waits for an offensive rebound. That's what he does.
Okay, yeah. But
he doesn't even set screens. That's what Rodman and Draymond Green is an incredible screen setter. That's how Curry can get open a lot. Rodman, the same thing. And when they set screens, you feel them,
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge part of setting a screen. Simmons doesn't do that. Simmons wants no part of that. Simmons wants no part of diving on the floor for loose balls. Simmons wants no part of getting physical with guys in the paint. No part of that. So, to push back on you, actually, I think Simmons is the worst option for that role you're talking about. I think he's a terrible player for that because he's soft. He's soft. I'm sorry.
No,
he's soft.
I 100% agree with you, Slade. He's just not...
No, and
I think you're gonna hate what I'm gonna say next.
He's gonna be great in that role.
And to finish, before you can go here, when I say Ben Simmons offers nothing in a half-court offense, I mean nothing. No. An offensive rebound, but nothing else. He does nothing in a half-court offense. Transition, he's a freak. He's an athletic monster in transition. Unstoppable. But basketball is one in the half-court, and Simmons does nothing. He can't shoot. He can't...
Just to say, the reason why I think Steph Curry is one of the greatest basketball players of all time is not because of his three-point shooting, which is, by the way, elite. It's what he does off ball.
Right.
Yeah.
He constantly... I love watching the Warriors just to watch Curry run everywhere, even if he's not touching the ball.
Yeah.
The amount of shots that he would open up for other people, it would be amazing.
But he wants no part of that. He doesn't want any part of that, dude.
Mm-hmm. So, I can't believe I forgot to tell this off the jump, when I was doing takeaways from the podcast and stuff, but JJ asked Ben on the podcast if he thought the process was a success. And he said yes, and JJ agreed. They agreed that, a lot of the picks missed, but the census between both of them, you're ready to jump on this, but the sentiment was, for both of them, was that they revitalized basketball in Philadelphia, and they made guys want to come play there, like James Harden, for example, and Jimmy came there for a little bit. But do you agree with that?
I'm just going to jump in quickly. Who are these guys we're talking about? The two guys that did this, and most of them was Embiid and a little bit of Simmons. It was not Nerlens Noel. It was not Jaleel Okafor. And it sure as hell was not Markel Fultz.
Yeah, no, they missed on a lot of picks, and that was...
They missed on 3/5 of the entire, what was supposed to be process.
Yeah.
It's not, they literally landed one guy, which is, I would say, basically was a shot in the dark considering Embiid they knew was not going to play his first year and he didn't play his second year. And Simmons was a highly touted guy in college, but you also knew that he basically just played in Australia 1 year at LSU.
Yeah.
Like, how much did the Sixers actually know about either one of them?
Yeah. Honestly, it's hard to argue what Aiden said there. But at the same time, I do kind of agree with Simmons and Redick because they are right that, like, part of what the process was supposed to do was bring a centerpiece into Philadelphia and just, like, and bring basketball back.
Yeah.
Bring that Iverson feel back. Bring that Moses Malone feel back to Philadelphia for basketball. And they did do that. And Simmons was a huge part of that. I don't like Simmons. Flat out, I don't. And honestly, like, I've never felt this way about an athlete before, but I seriously hope for the worst for his career in terms of just like on the court. I hope he has long-term financial success. I hope his family does well. All that is, I don't hate him as a person, just strictly as a player. I hope that everything goes bad for him. I want him to lose as much as possible, and I want him to be out as fast as possible. He did help bring basketball back to like a forefront in Philadelphia. So in that aspect, yeah, the process was a success. But like, what does that really do? Because you haven't gotten out of the second round.
Yeah.
So was it a success?
Like, I don't know. It hasn't made up for the sore taste in the mouth that you put up for fans that literally are watching a team that won 10 games in 1 year.
Right, and and now what you just said, Aiden, like you're putting a sour taste in fans' mouth, and then you're just punching them in the face and kicking them in the balls repeatedly over and over by allowing guys like Glenn Rivers, Tobias Harris, and Danny Green to speak about fans the way that they do. You know what I mean? And it's just ridiculous. The
fact we still have fans, like, obviously you're going to go if your team's winning.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I wasn't going out of my way to watch Sixers games. Like, there was nothing else on in, like, March and late February after the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, I'd watch the Sixers a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going out of my way to watch them, and there was not a whole lot of loyal fans during that time.
Yeah. And
so you should be grateful that you had fans willing to put up with all that losing for the chance of maybe winning something. You haven't won enough yet to keep most fans, like, fans will stay around because they've done enough to get in the postseason stuff. Yeah. But on the whole, fans, if they really thought out, is this worth it? Probably not.
Yeah, And, like, for me, I mean, I watch every Sixers game because I'm just, like, a basketball junkie.
Yeah.
So, like, and I love the Sixers. But, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. Everything. I mean, I can't stand Glenn Rivers. And, like,
me neither.
There's just no leadership from the tippity top of the Sixers organization. I mean, their owner, Josh Harris, is a complete hands-off owner. And it's like, is that really good for a basketball team? I don't know, because it's just like a close-knit group of guys where you only have 12 players on a roster. And is it really good to have a guy like Josh Harris who is just a guy who's not there and then is just a bobblehead the times that he does speak? And it's just proven by the fact that, like I said, like Green and Harris and Glenn just constantly trash on Philadelphia sports fans, and it is allowed. You know what I mean? If that was the Eagles, to give you an example, if Sirianni
literally had to kiss butt
right,
fans,
yeah,
just so people wouldn't talk trash about him.
Yeah.
If Sirianni said something like, remember last year when a bouquet of flowers got thrown at Sirianni?
Yeah, kind of.
Let's just say Sirianni went on WIP the next morning and said something like, Philadelphia fans know nothing. Glenn Rivers said something like that before the Ben Simmons breakdown. He said that only in Philadelphia Ben Simmons would get criticized, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
that's not true at all.
And it's not. No, it's not, because nationally he was criticized and we defended. Right. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Like, if Sirianni said that about Eagles fans, Jeff Lurie would be chewing him out in his office, saying, if you say that again, I'm dead serious, you're done. And like that never happened to Glenn Rivers. And I know that never happened to Danny Green or Tobias Harris. Two
Yeah.
mediocre-ass players who never lived up to what they were supposed to here.
So I actually kind of agree with you and Aiden and what JJ and Ben both said.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the process was the Jimmy Butler year team.
Yeah.
And they kind of were alluding to that as well. But think about it. That was probably the best team in Philadelphia.
That was the best shot they had. Yeah.
Yeah, even in it was up there with the Super Bowl Eagles team for Philly.
I mean,
it might have been even better talent-wise.
Nah.
Maybe.
100%. That's the thing. Not to get too off topic, but that 2007 Eagles team, it was talented. I didn't think they were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No.
Before Foles went in after Wentz got hurt, I didn't think the Sixers. I was convinced.
Yeah.
They get past the Raptors.
But the fact is, we didn't think that the Eagles were going to be that talented, but they were. They were that talented.
Yeah.
That was a really good group of guys.
They were. In the middle
Yeah.
of the season.
Yeah.
But
This guy that we knew. Look what Jimmy's done since he got the Heat to the finals and nearly to the finals last year.
Yeah, but
He is that guy.
my point is, though, that's as good as a team you'll get.
Yeah.
And if that's the process, then that was a success. And they would have won that year. And even if they
you
stayed...
can't convince me otherwise.
That's literally the unluckiest shit that ever happened in, a basketball game, ever. Kawhi got a head start. He ran. He literally ran with the ball. Anytime it gets brought up, you have to say he traveled.
Yeah, he did. Just by it wasn't never going to get called because it was just too quick. But yeah, you are right by the letter of the law. That was a travel, definitely.
And in any market, if that five is together for 3 years, they're winning a championship 1 year.
I completely agree, yeah. And it came out when Butler was that offseason when the sign and trade happened. Butler's agent screamed and chewed out Josh Harris in a meeting room when Josh Harris, because it was the Sixers' decision to sign and trade Harris to the Heat. Harris made that decision. And Jimmy's agent told him, "You're breaking up a championship core. You're making an incredible mistake." And then he predicted everything that was going to happen with Ben Simmons. He said, Simmons is going to have no leadership. He's going to have no guy to count on, and it's going to unravel him as a player. And he was pretty much right on that.
Do you think if Jimmy was with Simmons, do you think it would have played out differently?
Yeah, I completely do.
You think he would have kept his head down and played?
Jimmy is a guy where you're his teammate and you're on his team, you're family, and it's just because you're family doesn't mean you're gonna get along all the time. And I definitely think Jimmy and Ben butted heads. I don't doubt that at all. I 100% think that's true. I think Jimmy and Joel butted heads. I think they all butted heads. But it's at the same time, that's what makes a great championship basketball team. Let's be real. Scotty and Michael weren't the best of friends. They just weren't.
That really could have molded Simmons, though, in a very positive way.
No, I definitely agree. And that was definitely on the Sixers. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah. As good as Embiid and Harden are together, I just can't consider that the process.
No, I agree. If they win a championship, then it will be, which I do think they still can, but we'll see.
I know I've been shitting on the Sixers a lot. I've been looking at their lineup.
It's not terrible.
It's really good, actually.
Yeah.
Bench included. It's really good.
Melton is going to be good, I think.
Melton or Milton?
D'Anthony.
Oh, okay.
Both of them, but D'Anthony I think is going to be good. But I think Shake. I'm a huge Shake supporter. You know that. Mm-hmm. I have his jersey.
Yeah. Well, it's so painful talking about the Sixers.
Yeah, I know. It really is.
Yeah.
The season's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Let's just leave that off before I start crying. All right, we'll call it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.